Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it can also be a very hit and miss experience. One game, you're absolutely dominating, everything feels great, and then the very next, it all falls apart. You're getting a whole bunch of hit markers, things feel sluggish. It's a terrible experience. Well, we want to go through all the steps to prevent that experience from happening. The very first thing we need to do is head over to a tool here on DumaOS 4, the ping heat map. The ping heat map is awesome. It'll show you all the servers worldwide that are available for the game that you want to play. So we're choosing Black Ops 6. We come over here, choose game, Black Ops 6, and this is going to populate all the server locations with their ping. Sweet. Well, I live in the United States, more specifically Colorado. So if we zoom in over here, we can see that over here in Utah is actually my lowest pinging server, followed by Ohio and then Illinois, Texas, Georgia, and then things start to look a little bit more terrible the further we get away. So things that are close to you should be the best. However, depending on networking, routing, all this other stuff, sometimes you may end up like me where I live in Colorado and California isn't too far away. You just kind of look, it's like, it's right there. However, them servers are terrible. They're always terrible, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So this is just a quick snapshot of what happened when I loaded these servers in. And if we want to take a look at a server right now at 10:20 a.m. in the morning, we can click on Utah, for example. It's going to give us the ping live, and it's going to say how good our stability is. We're at 98, 99%. However, depending on what time of day it is, server load, a bunch of other stuff, these servers can change. Your best location may actually become your worst location. A whole bunch of good locations can all of a sudden turn terrible, and you only have one or two good locations. How do you know what time of day to play to give you the best experience, and what servers are going to be the best during that time of day? Well, we got to come over here to our ping schedules. You can see I've already got Black Ops 6 going, but as an example, if we want to add Black Ops 6, we click Add New, and we're just going to use Modern Warfare 3 because I've already got Black Ops 6 going, and we want to say every 30 minutes we want the ping, and we want it every day of the week. Unless there's a day of the week that you just don't play games. You're like, I don't care. I'm never on Monday through Friday or whatever because I work so hard that games just aren't a thing. But Saturday, Sunday, I play. You can just choose those. Whatever fits for your household. I do recommend that every 30 minutes, though. Days are up to you. We're going to go ahead and save that. Not for Modern Warfare 3 because I don't care. And then we're going to head back. Now that we have a ping schedule, we have these options down here: hour, day, week, month. And depending on when you set this up, how long things have been going, these will start to populate. So let's just take a quick look at hour. So again, it's 10:22 a.m. in the morning, my time. And so that was the latest ping that we got right now. And Utah is sitting at the best, followed by Ohio, Illinois, Texas, etc. And if we just go back an hour, you could see things do adjust a little bit, but not much. Pretty good. Just a little bit of ping adjustment by a few milliseconds. Nothing crazy. Go back 10 minutes, 20, 30. Oh, right when we hit that, see the change there? We have some good servers turning bad and some bad servers turning good during that time. So Washington disappeared and is no longer good. And whereas, so yeah, there's the differences there. And we just keep going back and we can see, kind of what's happened in the last hour or so, but we really want to look at our day. Day to day, hour to hour is going to be a bit different. So if we just kind of look here, we can see, oh no, things really take a turn about 3 hours ago. So is that like earlier in the morning? I don't even know what was going on, but obviously something happened. And oh boy, the only server that was good for me during this time and even previous hours was the Washington server. So for a whole bunch of hours, looks like kind of overnight, things went terrible. Maybe who knows what happened. But you can see that the Washington server was the best for a good while all the other ones tanked. And then things kind of evened back out early in the morning. So this is something that I feel is really underutilized. I even have made the mistake of underutilizing ping schedules. I play a whole bunch of different times a day, days of the week. And if I'm not paying attention to this, I may think, hey, these servers that I normally have on my GeoFilter should be good. Why am I having a terrible experience? Well, it's because during these particular times during this day, they went to absolute crap. Well, this may be a repeat process. Maybe for your connection to Call of Duty servers, Saturday nights are just terrible. The game just kind of tanks server-wise, and your connection to it is just bad on Saturday nights. Well, this will allow you to see that and be like, I know there's one good server on Saturday night. I'm just going to play on that one, ignore the rest, and that'll make my experience a lot better. So what we need to now do is take all the information that we've been given about what servers are the best, and then what days of the week, time of the day, all that are the best. And we need to apply that to our GeoFilter, which is incredibly easy to do. So the next thing we do is head over to the GeoFilter, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna mark our area that we want to play in. Now, I recommend having more than one server in your area that you have marked. As you've seen, and I'll just show you again real quick, Utah is pretty much always my best. However, you did see it did kind of flake out for a while there, but because I'm so close to Utah, this sits at about 25 milliseconds most of the time. However, there's not enough server load during most early times of the day until late afternoon, evening for the Utah server to spin up and be available for everybody, or at least in my experience. So if I hop on early in the morning and I want to play a couple quick rounds before doing whatever else for the day, and I'm just trying to connect to Utah, I may never connect. It may just sit there saying, hey, I'm looking for a lobby. I'm looking for a lobby. Still looking, buddy. We'll find one day. But because you only have this one area selected, Utah, it may never happen. So we want to choose a few areas with the lowest ping. Keep in mind, there are more than one server in each one of these locations, and that'll lead back to something in the GeoFilter here in a moment. So knowing that there's a few servers here in Utah, none of them are spinning up. However, we've got, Ohio and then Illinois. We want to just keep all of that in mind when we're drawing out our filter or using the world map select countries feature, which I'll show more in a minute, to do that for us. So I have this pretty huge chunk marked off here in the United States. That way, during different times of day that I play, I'm more likely to get into a server fairly fast. Here's where it comes the asterisk. What we want to do is keep DumaOS open on a device that's near us. A lot of us have phones. I figure most of us do. Probably all of us have a phone. And you can either download the iOS or Android app, which I will just quick asterisk. They are working on it. There's some bugs that have been found by the community, and things are getting better. Let's just say that. So just be aware that I know the app still needs to be updated with the newer stuff, but eventually it will be, and things have gotten better. That out of the way, if you don't want to use the app on Android, iOS, it's crashing, whatever else, you can still log in on a web browser via your phone, tablet, whatever. You just type in 192.168.77.1. You'll put in your login information. And what's great about DumaOS 4 is it works really well on mobile. And honestly, doesn't take a whole bunch of battery life if you just kind of have your phone sitting beside you, which is what I would recommend. And here is why. Even though it seems like a hassle to have your phone out and DumaOS open, this is something that is very necessary, 100% necessary, if you want a consistent experience. Why? Because DumaOS allows you to allow or deny servers. So I'm playing in Chicago, which should be a pretty good server. And then all of a sudden, oh man, I'm getting a lot of hit markers all of a sudden. Oh, and I look over and it's wavy. It's just not doing so good. Well, I can deny that server. I'll never reconnect to that particular server ever again. Now, again, there's more servers in that location that I can still connect to, and they all may be fine, but that one may just, be having a really bad day or just be bad overall. And we don't want to accidentally run into that multiple times. So we deny it. Same thing with servers that are playing really well. You get into a game, it's dominating. You're just like, man, I'm no hit markers. Everything feels great. You want to take the few seconds in between a life or whatever time you have to reach over and click the allow button here on your geo filter so that you can allow good servers. That way, more often than not, you'll connect to those the next time. Again, this will be a process that takes time to do. The longer you take time with this process, the better the game will become overall. So we can see we have an allow and deny list up here. If we click it, I've got a whole bunch of servers that I've allowed and also some things that I've denied. Most of this is allowed. This first top here, you can see I've got a bunch of allowed servers here, and most of them are in Chicago. However, you can see right here, I have also got 9 denied servers in Chicago. I have a couple servers here in Chicago that are denied as well. So we can just kind of take a look for things that have connected that I don't want to connect. Some of this is for other games, but a lot of it's for Call of Duty. And then we have our stuff up top. So I've got a pretty big list of allowed servers already started. And of course, things can change from day to day, time to time. You could go back to your deny list and be like, well, maybe it'll be okay. But through my years of playing Call of Duty and other games, more often than not, if that particular server is bad, you're just better off leaving it marked as denied and never worrying about it again. So of course, over time, this list will get really, really big. And eventually, maybe one day, you could possibly block all the bad servers and just allow all the good ones, which will give you the best overall possible experience for Black Ops 6 or any Call of Duty for that matter, or just any game. So going through and making sure to allow and deny is incredibly important, and I implore you to do so. Something else we need to quickly talk about is if we hit our 3-dot drop-down menu and click settings, we have this geo latency feature. This will reduce the risk of being disconnected from the game by using a latency-based filtering method. I don't know about all their secret sauce. What I do know is this basically prevents you from getting into super high ping stuff, which would just be unfavorable overall, and just kind of looks at things overall while you're playing and tries to keep you in one particular area. I don't know. All I know is for some people it works really well, while others it doesn't seem to work at all. My recommendation is to leave it on, as you can see. One of the big mistakes people make with this feature is trying to change games and then trying to change your geo filter settings while you're gaming. If you are gaming or have a console or PC on that you plan to game with, you want to make these changes before you start that game. And with PC, I would just kind of wait a little while, give it like a couple of minutes when making the changes. You should be okay. I don't do a lot of PC gaming, but more often than not, that seems to work. With console, my advice is to shut down the console and make your changes. If you've tried to make changes to the geo filter, and I'm not talking about allow or deny, I'm talking about any of your ping assist settings, your geo latency settings, or just turning your filter on or off, this can cause issues when you have the geo latency feature on. Geo latency should be able to keep your filter constantly on with the area that you have chosen and kind of just fall into line there. So anything outside of my area will still be blocked. And if for some reason it's not, it's most likely that you changed settings of some sort during some time while things were up and playing, which again, isn't recommended. So what's really cool about geo latency is if you're like, I just play Call of Duty. That's it. That's what I play. And then you may play single player games, but it's the only multiplayer game you care to play. And so you set up your filter and then you say, I want it filtered always for my console or PC, whatever. And then you turn on geo latency and you just leave it alone. And then every single time that you come back to Call of Duty, you're good to go. Or you can, if you're running into trouble, you can turn off geo latency by clicking the button, which I'm not going to do because I want it on. And then, of course, you can come over to your filter and turn it off and on per each game. If you're like me and you do have a few games, you're like, I like to play these games worldwide. They may have some lag, but I have friends all over the place. I'm not trying to just add them or deny them per list as you can do. You can add your friends in the allow or deny people you don't like in the deny part of the geo filter. You can also just kind of do this. Come over here to simple mode, leave everything else the same, but just drag your thing over to full. So I've got the whole world covered here, and this will still kind of make sure your ping doesn't go too high. I don't know what the threshold is. All I know is I haven't seen really high ping games in games that I'm familiar would normally have high ping if I would have geo latency off. So I guess I'm just not connecting to those super high ping connections, which is great. And I can still play all the people I want to play with worldwide. And then when I come back to Call of Duty, I just come over here to custom. And so for most games, those are my two simple settings. Your mileage may vary depending on where you live in the world, what you're playing other than Call of Duty, etc. You're just going to have to kind of figure out what works best for you. Again, on your favorite games, make sure to allow and deny good and bad servers. Whew. All right. Next up, steady ping. This is an awesome feature, which works really well with a lot of games. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is very inconsistent with steady ping. You may have a few rounds where everything is great, then you may have a few more where things are just kind of wonky. I don't know why that is with Black Ops or Call of Duty in general. Throughout the last few Call of Duties, that's the way things have been. It's just very inconsistent. You want to make sure things are as consistent as possible. Steady ping is awesome. I do love it, but for some reason for me, it seems to add a bit of inconsistency sometimes. I don't want that. I want my experience to be as smooth as possible. So for Black Ops 6, I do not recommend steady ping. If you want to mess with it yourself and see if it works out great for you, fair warning, you may have some really good games, and if it falls to pieces, you're better off turning it off. You can use simpler expert mode. You can go through the steady ping video I went through a while back. These things do work. I'm not saying they don't. I just feel if you want more consistency from game to game, you don't want any other variables in your way, leave steady ping off. For other games that I play, and I play a bunch of different stuff, I turn it back on. I feel it works great for Battlefield and a bunch of other stuff, but Battlefield's another shooter I'm pretty familiar with, and I do leave it on for that. And it feels great. But I think just the way Call of Duty is, maybe their netcode, maybe their servers, I don't know. Steady ping, not so much. So your mileage may vary. You might be like, hey, steady ping's awesome for me. I'm not messing with it. In which case, don't. But in my experience, turn it off. All right, next up, very important, our smart boost settings. When we're first setting up our DumaOS 4 router, it's going to give us a whole bunch of choices to choose from for what you want to prioritize. The three that are always ticked are gaming, work from home, and video and streaming. I don't have any work from home traffic in my house whatsoever. It's not something that we do here. So I actually remove the number 2, which is work from home, which raises up video and streaming to number 2. If you have work from home traffic, leave it gaming, work from home, video streaming. If you don't have work from home traffic, go ahead and remove that and just let it be gaming, video, and streaming. Something that I have seen a lot of over the years with the different systems, and especially since this one has been available where you can just kind of choose what you want, people will choose a whole bunch of different stuff, thinking this, adding this and or that will lead to a better experience. Through my very thorough testing, it doesn't make much of a difference. You really just want gaming, work from home, video, and streaming, just the way DumaOS has it when you initially boot it up. Again, unless you don't have work from home traffic, in which case you can remove it. Where things actually do matter is adding your devices. So let's talk a little bit about that. You do not want to add things that, are just streaming boxes and you watch TVs, stuff like that. You want to make sure it's just your gaming devices are being prioritized in the order that works best for your household. So if you have a whole bunch of Xboxes and you're like, I'm the big dad of the house, my Xbox comes first, of course. Great. Honestly, the priority order matters a little bit. Top priority matters the most, obviously, and then everything following that just kind of falls into line anyway, through my experience. And gaming for everybody who's on is generally better if you have those gaming devices set here in your list. So to do that, real quick example, we click add and we can look through my devices, which I have available. And then we just choose whatever we're gaming on. So like Nintendo Switch, and we'd have Xbox, now followed by Nintendo Switch. I don't do a lot of online Nintendo Switch gaming, so I'm not going to leave it. But if there are multiple consoles that are online at the same time, prioritize them the way you see fit, obviously leaving the top dog console top priority. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about just briefly is our ping optimizer. Ping optimizer is a tool that's going to allow you to come in here once you click advanced, and you can either set it up to do full test, expert, and then you set your congestion control settings, or you can have the system run a test and set them for you. Depending on the time of day, when you run the test, what your network load is, what your neighborhood network load is, all sorts of factors. A asteroid could fly by, or a meteorite or whatever, and mess things up. So we just want to make sure that we have a setting that's going to work most of the time when it comes to congestion control. So if you come over here to your ping optimizer, you click optimize my ping, and it sets it somewhere, and you go in game, and you're like, that's great. And then the next day, it's not so great again. My overall recommendation is just to drop both your upload and download a little bit at a time until it kind of falls back into line. Unfortunately, there's no one size fits all solution when it comes to congestion control. Maybe in the future, there'll be something better. Who knows? But when it comes to overall buffer bloat and things of that nature, it will affect your gaming, and each individual person out there who watches this video is going to have a different experience. And their experience may differ from time of day, day to day, etc. So ping optimizer is unfortunately something you want to just kind of keep an eye on, especially if you have good allowed servers that you know are normally great to play on, and they're all of a sudden not playing so good. That's most likely due to some congestion happening somewhere on the internet. And it also is kind of affecting you. Maybe it's in your own house, or maybe it's outside of your house, and you having your best connection possible is going to just make sure everything outside of your house is as good as it could possibly be, but obviously out of your control. So those are all the steps that you can take to get Call of Duty Black Ops 6 running great. One thing I want to mention here at the end, most people know if you go into your settings menu on Call of Duty, there is an option there for either optimized streaming or minimal streaming. Let me explain this really quick. The optimized streaming option adds textures pulled from the internet while you're playing Black Ops 6. The minimize setting pulls very little information while you're playing. What's great about Smart Boost is this is already being taken care of for you. Do not have to add it anywhere. If you come over here to your add button though, and you look at your overall list here, we go to groups, we come over here to file sharing. That brings up the file sharing thing, and you can see right here, Call of Duty content. So this is already being taken care of in the background, and you can look at this while you're playing Call of Duty. If you have optimized on, and you click stats for nerds and you scroll down, you'll see Call of Duty content show up while you're playing. So it's something you don't need to prioritize. It's already kind of doing it in the background for you. And so you do not have to, at least with DumaOS 4, set your settings on the game to minimal. When it comes to all other in-game settings, I may make a video on it. I definitely have some stuff that I like using, but I want to know your guys' interest on that in particular. Would you want me to make a video going through the actual settings on Black Ops 6 itself that I use? And I feel like some of them may translate, but most of it is an individual choice, like controller settings, etc. The big one is whether you use optimized or minimal. I like to use optimized. It does make the game look clear. There are other things that I do as well to tweak here and there. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But other than that, all the steps you need to take to have the best connection possible to Black Ops 6, hey, you can also add this to any other game that you're playing. If you go through there and you're allowing the good servers and denying the bad ones and paying attention to that, and just making sure your congestion control is set right for the right time of day, your experience overall is going to be way better and way more consistent. I know I've definitely dealt with a bit of the inconsistency trying to figure out all the settings that would work best for Black Ops 6, and this is what I found after quite a bit of testing. So let me know how everybody does, and until the next time, take it easy.